So what we're going to do first, hopefully you got Revit open, we'll go ahead and open our model file. And our file that we'll be using is this Lecture 17 Massing for Facades. And you'll go ahead and open up the model, and you'll see it's just a simple little 5-story building. You know, it's got some openings in it, and I've got a curtain wall on the other side. That's for the part of your assignment that you're going to kind of be creative with on your own. But we're going to do this first one together and the primary portion of the facade. Okay. Okay, so how do we start this? Well, as we start any of our typical massing that we're doing as a class in here, we're going to start with an in-place mass. And when we start with an in-place mass, we're going to work from the bottom level and we're going to go to the top, and we're going to set a couple of things up. What do I mean? Well, let's go to level 1, and let's come here and let's go up to massing and site, and we'll go to in-place mass, and we'll get that usual message. We're going to call this uh, primary facade. Okay, we'll just call it primary facade. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to set up some reference planes, and we're going to set up 4 of them. We'll put one here on this end, and what's nice about this is I can just arbitrarily throw them out here. You know, it doesn't really matter as long as I go from one end to the other end, right? And then what I can do is go in here and I can create an align dimension from here to here to here to here. And even though those are different dimensions, when I pull that out there, if I hit the EQ, now they're all equal. Okay, so that's equal spacing in there. And I'm also going to create another reference plane along the face of my building right here, right? So I can click that there, and I can click that and stretch it all the way across here. Oh, let's try that again. Stretch that all the way across here. That's better. And delete that. We won't need that. And I'm going to put some names on these reference planes, as I like to do, because they're much easier to use that way. So I'm going to, as we per usual, name that one number 1. We'll name that one number 2. We'll name this one number 3. And we'll name this one number 4. And then we're going to name this one building face. Okay? So we've got those right now. So now we're going to, in order to create that interesting facade, we've got to go into each one of these, and we're going to have to create a shape that we can then create a form from. So logically, what we're going to do here is we will go to our east elevation, and in our east elevation, what we can do is what? We can come in and we can say, let's set our reference plane first. We don't always have to do this, but let's set it to number 1, hit OK, and then we can say show, and now that's that reference plane, right? Now I can say I want to go in here and I want to draw, we're going to draw model lines, and then we're going to say draw on work plane, and we know it is what? Reference plane 1, and we'll make sure 3D snapping is off. For what we're doing right now, we don't want 3D snapping to be on. So what we're going to do is we're going to, not from the top of the parapet, but from level 5 down, we're going to draw, right? Right here, I'm going to draw a line all the way down, right? Not to the bottom of the reference plane, but here to level 1, right? And then I'm going to come out maybe, I don't know, 1 foot 6 inches. How about that? Right? And I'll hit escape. And I'll go up to the top till where level 5 starts. And I'll come out here and I'll say, let's come out 1 foot 6 inches there as well. And now I'm going to go ahead and click on the spline feature. And I'm going to click on spine. And I'm going to come in here. And we always want to make sure, again, we're set and we're drawing on that work plane. And I want to make sure that I am at the end of the line I drew. And now I'm going to just start drawing a shape, right? And, you know, for what we're doing, you know, there's no exact rhyme or reason for that. And I want to make sure I connect at the end, right? and I can always make sure I connected, right? So I am connected. I click and I see I've got that whole body drawn. Now, if I go to a 3D view, what I can see in that view, and it's always good in these views if we go back to our hidden line view while we're drawing them, and we can see we've got that whole shape and we're in reference plane, the first one, and we can always say show it and say set it, and in this 3D view, reference plane 1, we can see that we've drawn that on reference plane 1. Okay, very good. Let's go back to our east elevation, and now we can say in our east elevation, let's go and let's say we'll go to our model line again, and we'll say we want to go to reference plane 2 this time. Make sure we're set, right? And now that we're in reference plane 2, we can say let's draw another model line from level 5 down to level 1. And then maybe I'll come out a little further. Maybe I'll come out to about 2 foot here. And I'll go up to the top. And I'll say, let's go from that face. And let's go out maybe 2 foot. And then I can say, give me a spline from there. And I'm going to go all the way. I'm going to kind of intermix and intermingle here. So I'll come back out, come here. And I don't want to get too crazy and too far out, but you know, you see that spline kind of lets me draw what I need to draw. So where that's coming wide, maybe I'll come back in a little more and come out here. Again, all of ours are going to be a little bit different, and that's okay. Maybe I'll come a little further out there, then weave back in, and then start coming out again, and then come here, and then I hit escape, and that's the second one. And again, I can check it and make sure, and I can set my work plane. Let's set it to work plane reference plane 2, and now we can see what we've drawn on reference plane 2, and we're pretty good there, right? In that particular view. It's good to see. Now let's go back to that east elevation. Once again, we'll go to next reference plane 3. So what am I going to do? I'm going to say let's set my reference plane to reference plane 3, and then I'm going to draw a model line, and again I'm going to go from level 5 down to level 1, and sometimes it can be hard to get that to snap right. And so this time I'm only going to come out maybe, let's see, maybe I'll come out 1 foot here for this next one. And then I'll go to the top. And I'll come out maybe 2'6" here, right? And so I should, if I go to 3D, what I can check and see is I've got that part of it so far. So now I can go back to my east elevation, and I can get a spline, and I make sure I'm still in reference plane 3 work plane, and I'm drawing on that work plane. Always check that. And again, maybe I'm going to come out and then immediately go back, right? And I'm coming out, and again, I'm just getting that wavy gravy kind of thing going. You know, interesting. And keep in mind, you know, the more you intermix and intermingle, perhaps the more interesting your form is going to be. But depending on the memory in your computer, Revit can be kind of unkind in allowing you to draw things quickly. So again, I'll check, and I got that. There's that form. Still got that form. I can set my work plane just so I can see it a little better. So there it is, right? And it's always good to, I like to check these things as I go along, move a little slower for my first time through here, okay? So I know that's good. So now I'm going to set this one just for kicks to reference plane 4, go back into my east elevation. And while I'm on my east elevation, I'm going to draw my last object. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to say model line, right? and set it to reference plane 4. Always set your reference plane and make sure you're actually drawing on that work plane. So I am going to draw a line from top to bottom, and you can do this any kind of way you want. And then I'm going to come out 2'6" here, and then I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to come and go maybe to only 1'6" here, right? And now I'm going to go grab my spline tool, and from the 1'6" here, I'm kind of just drawing my last wavy gravy. That's what we can call these. They're wavy gravies. All right. And nothing wrong with being creative here. You can make this as interesting or as plain as you want. It's always more fun when you make it interesting. And I think this is my last one. Okay, let's check our 3D view, see where we're at. Looking good for all 4 of them so far. All right, so while my 3D view, I'll turn off my work plane, and I'll come over here and I'll select the first one, hold down Control, select the second, the third, and the fourth, and I'll say create form, and I'll say make this a solid form. And there's my solid form for the front of my building from my facade. And when we pick back up in the next video, we'll start creating the ridges in the facade. So let's pick back up in the next video and do that.